Okay, I'm just going to give it just another minute or two, and then I will go ahead and start. Today, we're going to talk about cost share and some of the places and some of the resources you might be able to find for it. Okay, nobody's dinging to get in, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. But if there's pauses, it is me letting folks in from the waiting room. So if you're new with us today, this is a program called Women Owning Woodlands, and I do a weekly virtual lunch and learn that is kind of a overview of various topics that are usually appropriate for the season, or maybe just information that is needed by folks that enjoy Woodlands or own Woodlands. So today we're talking about cost share and places that you can access that cost share. And then maybe I'll scroll through these. Oh, there we go. So what is Women Owning Woodlands? If you are, again, just joining us for the first time, of course, I see a lot of familiar names on the list today, but this is a program that is constantly in development to provide opportunities for women landowners. We organize field days, lunch and learns, classes geared towards our women forest landowners and forest enthusiasts. So anybody interested in the outdoors is, of course, more than welcome to join us for any of these opportunities. There's also a Facebook page that is available that can provide some network opportunities. I usually share anything that's like current events coming up that might be of interest. I just saw that MDC posted several prescribed burning workshops. So I'll try to post those to that page as well. So I'm going to start talking about what cost share is. So cost share is money that's provided by a state or federal entity that helps offset the cost of forest and wildlife management practices. So this is really assistance or, some financial benefit, because management of forests and management for wildlife can be costly to landowners. Things like forest stand improvements can have an expense to them because we either have to do the labor ourselves, which includes equipment and our time, or we have to hire a contractor, which has, again, a cost to us. So 85% of Missouri's forests are privately owned, but our wildlife does not know boundaries. Our forest health does not know boundaries. So in order to improve habitat and overall forest health, it's important that we not only are managing on public lands, but also on private lands, because we want to have, again, the best habitat and forest health available that we can. And so we understand that in order to make this happen, cost shares is one way that we can provide for those things to happen. So where do I find it? Our three most common cost share locations or resources are going to be the Missouri Department of Conservation.
Oh, I don't care about this. Is that what this is about today?
Hello. Okay. All right. So Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS, and then the Soil and Water Conservation District. So Missouri Department of Conservation and Soil and Water Conservation District are state level agencies, and then our Natural Resources Conservation Service is going to be a federal entity. But all three of these are some of our more common cost share agency or cost share providing agencies that we come across. And again, there's just kind of this like cartoon down here that talks about, our challenges that our family forest landowners face. So a lot of it's a lack of awareness, lack of expertise, time consuming process, and then high costs. So cost share is one way that we can eliminate one of those challenges for landowners and hopefully lead to more management that's actually on the ground. Where do I start? So there are places to start. So first is to locate your MDC office. They're on the website for MDC. They have a put in my county, and it gives you all the folks that serve your county. And on here, you can often find they've kind of changed their title to private lands forester. So this would be someone you would be looking for, or for just a private lands conservationist. So those two folks are going to be your resources that you look for at MDC. In soil and water conservation districts and NRCS offices, they actually oftentimes share offices. So if you find one, you find the other. But you can go on websites for them and locate where those offices are. Every county has a soil and water conservation district. So all 114 counties of Missouri do have a soil and water conservation district. Your NRCS office may be, oftentimes there's one office for 3 counties. So you would have to locate where that office is to access that. Once you have located them and talked about a little bit about, what you're looking for, what you think you need, this will often result in a visit with a forester or another natural resources professional. So in soil and water conservation, we don't really have foresters. We have soil and water techs. We have from the NRCS side, we have some soil conservationists. We have those folks that will help with the cost share process. But locating those offices and talking with your local folks is usually the very first step that we recommend. And then they will help you oftentimes from there. And then after those conversations, the most likely step is going to be a management plan or a stewardship plan if you do not have one in place. So cost share from all 3 of these agencies is dependent upon having some type of plan in place. The biggest thing I can tell you also about cost share is you cannot go out and perhaps fence livestock out of your woods now and then go and contact your soil and water conservation district asking for cost share for that fence that you already put in. You have to be in contact with them prior to the practice taking place. So that's important. The other thing for working with soil and water conservation and with NRCS is that you have a farm number in place. So this, again, kind of the alphabet soup of folks, but this involves a stop at the FSA, Farm Service Agency, and that is where we get farm numbers assigned. And that is how they're going to track your cost share through their systems that they have, because soil and water and NRCS are fairly well linked as far as that goes. So those are the first steps. So what is out there as far as cost share? So through MDC, they have several programs. You can also get assistance for some aquatic management. So if you have a pond, stream, you can go that direction for some cost share that has to do with the aquatic management. Herbaceous vegetation management. So this is going to be managing things like invasive garlic mustard or other invasive species that falls under this program. Woody vegetation management, that's going to be underneath our things like TSI fall into that category. Prescribed fire, so there's some cost share for prescribed fire. This again needs to be part of your management plan in order to qualify for that cost share. So it's important that you have that in place. Agricultural natural resource stewardship. So this is going to be for folks that tend to have a more agricultural land practice. There is some cost share for helping make that more natural resources friendly or more wildlife friendly. That falls in under MDC programming. And then our natural resource planning, which is going to be things like riding plans. So quick look at the ones that, again, are very familiar to us in the forestry business. So 300 is woody management. This includes, you know, a chainsaw, hack and squirt, or basil bark treatment for things like forest stand improvement, crop tree release, crop tree pruning, woody invasives and vine control. So this is going to be things like controlling honeysuckle, autumn olive, and many of those more woody invasives or other vines, such as like winter creeper. This also can cover putting in forest openings to benefit wildlife. If you have a glade or a forest that was probably historically more savanna, it can help with restoring the glades or savanna to your property. And then tree shrub establishment. So this often happens in, I'll say, riparian areas, but it can happen in anywhere. But if your plan calls for the establishment of trees or shrubs, this can be also covered under this particular cost share category. The other big one of here, of course, that, you know, forestry covers is going to be our natural resource planning. So you can get cost share through MDC for a resource inventory and plan development. So that's going to be the development of your management plan for future practices. And then forest harvest BMP implementation. So if you have had or in the process of having a timber sale, they can come up with a plan for those best management practices to be put in place. So that includes like water bars, riparian buffers. They fall in that category. And then if you have not harvested, but perhaps you've already had a plan in place and a forced harvest was put in that plan, they can actually do it themselves, or oftentimes MDC will cover the cost of a consulting forester to develop your harvest plan and mark the timber to help landowners do that, again, in a sustainable, wildlife, forest health friendly way. The soil and water, so SWCD is Soil and Water Conservation District. Again, each county has one of these, but they have cost share for a number of things other than things that relate to forest and woodlands. But these are the ones that are exclusively useful to most of the people that I work with that have forested land. And so one is timber harvest plan. So they do have cost share for this. And this is to develop a plan that will prevent or minimize the amount of soil erosion from a timber harvest. They also have some cost share for forest plantation. So this is the establishment of a forest. The biggest one, and this is one that a lot of that they probably do the most of, is livestock exclusions. So livestock are very hard on forested areas if they are just turned loose in the forest. So we have cost share in order to build fences to keep livestock out of woods. So if you're a landowner that perhaps you have 100 acres, it's all fenced around the outside, and you need to do some cross fencing to keep the livestock out of the wooded part of your property, they can do some cost share for that. They can also, if you've had a timber sale or you've bought property that had a timber sale in the past, there's some cost share that does like restoration of the skid trails, the logging roads, stream crossings, and log landings. And this again is from a soil and water conservation aspect. So they are really interested in providing cost share to minimize things like erosion and water runoff. Yeah, yes, Shelby, that's correct. So they often, they do not provide funding for perimeter fencing. They only provide cost share for cross fencing that would help keep livestock out of the woods. Yep. NRCS programs, and I do need to add more to this because they keep adding new programs, but EQIP is our biggest one. This is one that provides financial and technical assistance to agricultural producers so they can address natural resource concerns and deliver environmental benefits such as improved water and air quality, conserved ground and surface water, reduced soil erosion, and sedimentation, or improved or created wildlife habitat. So there's a lot that falls under EQIP to meet those particular goals and benefits that we want to have through this program. So under EQIP, this includes practices such as a forest management plan. So again, and we are really lucky in Missouri. So Missouri Department of Conservation and NRCS, they actually have a shared forest management plan template. So if an NRCS forester writes your plan, or if you have cost share to have a plan written through NRCS through this 106 practice, it is going to be as accepted as if you had a management plan written by an MDC forester or an MDC contract forester. So no matter which direction you go or who you find that has the funding for a forest management plan, it is going to be accepted by both. And when you get those plans, they actually have a template, and it includes the NRCS logo and the MDC logo. So you can, again, it's kind of just finding whichever path, and I have to say that every county is a little bit different, which is good and bad. Just so you have to kind of figure out in your area which one to work with and how to work with them, but they do work very well together. Another EQIP practice that's very commonly cost shared is forest stand improvement, also TSI. So this is forest thinning. They also have funding for fence, kind of same as our soil and water conservation district funding. It's going to be intended to keep livestock out of the woods. There's funding for upland wildlife habitat management, conservation cover, also funding through EQIP for prescribed burning, brush management. A lot of our invasive species fall under that brush management practice as well. Access control, and then tree shrub establishment and fire breaks. So if you, and fire breaks often fall in places such as where we have a little bit more wildland fire. So they are going to help establish fire breaks to prevent that. So just to look at what some of those cost share looks like. So forest stand improvement, again, this is thinning our forest for improved forest health. And this can also improve wildlife habitat. So by providing a little bit more sunlight to the forest floor through these improvements and thinnings, we can establish better cover and better food sources for wildlife on the ground. It also is going to provide better resources for those trees that are left behind. So trees, kind of like an unweeded garden. So if we have a forest that has a lot of trees growing very close together, they're sharing resources and competing with each other for those resources, which can lead to slower growth, poor tree quality, which can lead to just general forest decline. So if we do forest stand improvement early on, before we have commercially sized logs that we could sell through a timber harvest, this is going to improve our overall forest condition for both wildlife and for forest health. Brush management. So again, this often covers our invasive species control when we talk EQIP. And this is just an example of why we would want to do this. So this is honeysuckle, bush honeysuckle, and this is an area that's been treated, and this is one that's been untreated. And so this one helps a lot. So invasive species are very costly, a very costly problem that we all have across the US and across even other countries. But this cost share helps make it more manageable for us to deal with invasive species on our property. And so this is one, again, cost share works, and I'll talk a little bit at the end, but you can use it in a couple different ways. So you can, they give you what they consider, they have kind of the going rate. So if we look at invasive species control, they kind of have the going rate for like treating invasive species on an acre is this, and they are going to give you, and it varies depending on agency, depending on program that you're enrolled in, but it is generally somewhere between like 60 and 90% is what they're going to pay for as far as cost share goes. And then you're going to pay the other, 10 to 40%. And you will know up front before you sign any paperwork that goes along with this, what that cost share is and kind of what those expenses are that you can expect. For the cost share, they will check it after it is done and make sure that it has been done and done correctly. How it gets done is up to you as the landowner. So you can, like for brush management or TSI, you can opt to do that timber stand improvement or to treat those invasive species yourself. In which case, then, you would get that cost share money and essentially kind of pay yourself for your labor that you put into this. Or if you hire a contractor, it's expected that it'll probably pay a portion of that contractor's expenses, and then you, the landowner, will come up with the other their portion of that. Having cost share on your property does not obligate you to things like letting people hunt on your land or other people have access to your land. There's also a concern that a lot of my landowners have had or expressed, is that they were concerned that if they agreed to this, then they were agreeing to a lot of other things. The biggest part of the agreement that you have is that you're going to upkeep the practice for a certain amount of time. So this varies depending on practice, how much, how long you're going to keep it up. So like fence, for example, can be checked. You should maintain it for, I won't remember offhand how many years, but a certain number of years you need to maintain that fence, keeping livestock out of the woods after they have provided cost share for it. So that's the biggest part of the agreement. The rest of it, you're not obligated again to let anybody hunt on your property or have access to your property if you agree to cost share. It's just that they want to see that these practices are maintained. Access control. So this is another way for just controlling like livestock access to wooded areas. So this picture inset is a pre-fencing, pre-access control where we had livestock in these woods and they kept it very clear. And then this big picture is the after. So we have eliminated livestock from these woods, which allows for this a little bit brushier, a few more forbs, which is much better for wildlife, but also for erosion control. So this is a very exposed soil surface under our woods, which can lead to increased erosion. Whereas having this understory in place is going to help us control that. So they will pay for those things. Tree shrub establishment. Again, this is often put, I say, in riparian areas, but it can definitely be used in other places or put in as a recommended practice. This is one where cost share can help, cover the cost of the seedlings that you're going to put in, but also the labor to have those seedlings planted. So other things that go along with cost share that many people don't know up front or haven't heard about. So for soil and water conservation cost share programs, they have a grazing school. So if you are a livestock producer and you're looking for some of their cost share practices, they have this grazing school that is required. It's usually like 2 to 3 days and the fees do vary. And this is to learn about sustainable pasture management. And this is kind of the gateway into many of their cost share programs. So this happens usually in the spring and in the fall, and they do them regionally. So for example, I think this week is the one, this week there's a grazing school in Cook Station near St. James. And so they kind of rotate them around areas so that they are convenient to folks at different times. But this is a gateway into some of the soil and water conservation district cost share programs. Missouri Managed Woods program. So this is by MDC, and this is a kind of a longer term commitment type of cost share, but it does provide for higher cost share. And so if you have a minimum of 20 acres of wooded land, all in a contiguous block with a land market value of less than $3,500 an acre, you can agree to a 15 year enrollment. That's kind of the minimum for their commitment for this. And it can't include houses, barns, or sheds on the area that you enroll in this program. But it is going to give you a lot of benefits. And so this, again, you do have a 15-year commitment to upkeep with them. So you're in that agreement. And what you get provided, so you do get priority assistance from your professional MDC forester. So meaning that they're going to, put you ahead of some of like their other landowners they work with who may not be enrolled in this program. You will be provided a forest management plan based on your goals and objectives and the condition of your woods. If a timber sale was put in that forest management plan, you'd be guaranteed MDC assistance to carry out that timber sale. There is a property tax reduction benefit that goes along with being enrolled with this program. And there's generally an increased cost share rate to assist you with those forest management practices. So if it was like 75% for timber stand improvement and you were in this program, it might be 90% cost share for that particular practice. You also will get enrolled in forest certification through the American Tree Farm System. So this is a certification system that just provides that your forest is being managed and that information. And then you'll get a timber basis evaluation when needed and appropriate. So they'll give you the information about, based on the timber that's there, what is there and the value that it would have. So your obligations is that you need to sign the management plan and agree to implement it, showing progress within 5 years of that implementation. There's an expectation that you'll enroll in the tree farm program, which it's a good plug. We do have tree farm, an annual tree farm conference, which is actually coming up October 7th and 8th in Fulton. And this usually goes over, again, kind of a workshop field day to talk about tree farm program, but also some of those practices that are, make for good forest that are enrolled in tree farm. You also have to have clearly marked property boundaries and fence livestock out of the woods if you do have livestock and woods. So. Who else can help you navigate cost share around the state? So Quail Forever and Pheasant Forever biologists, they can help you work through the process of finding cost share, but also implementing practices covered by cost share. And Kim, I'm not going to call you out too much, but I know you're on here today. And Kim is with Quail Forever, Pheasant Forever, and we'll probably give a great plug to her biologists that are across the state and happy to help you. National Wild Turkey Federation biologists, foresters. There are 3 National Wild Turkey Federation foresters in Missouri, but they are willing to help with management plans and navigating through that cost share. And then your extension specialists. So, if you are looking and you have a specific area that you perhaps are looking for some of that cost share, I can't write it for you, but I can certainly help you navigate finding it and connect you with with either an NRCS professional, a soil and water professional, or your MDC professional in your area. And offices around our extension offices, often they can also help you find that. You can also contact private consulting foresters directly. And so you can www.moforesters.org is their website, and you can find a private consulting forester. And so they oftentimes, they do have a cost, but perhaps you've already been approved for cost share and now you're looking to implement that cost share or that practice. Those private consulting foresters can help you work your way through that. So again, there's lots of people out there always happy to help. In your soil and water conservation office, which is oftentimes also an NRCS office. Walking in, they will be, happy to help you. They have lots of handouts about cost share. We do have deadlines that sometimes there's deadlines for equip enrollment. Some other cost share practices will have deadlines. Soil and water, they generally have a certain amount to give out each year. Fiscal year starts July 1st and ends June 30th. But there is generally always, some type of funding. If they're out for that year, they'll put you on the list to start at the beginning of that next fiscal year when it rolls out. MDC, kind of the same thing. So they're given a certain amount and they'll put you at the list for the next time it recycles. Are there any questions about cost share? I kind of threw all that out there. It can be overwhelming to start, but just keep at it. And it is worth it because it definitely can help get more done with less money out of your pocket. Okay, I'll stop sharing so you can see my face. Yes. Shelby, did you have a question? You can feel free to unmute yourself. I'm usually a pretty casual presenter, so.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Feel free to unmute. Yes.
So the cost share programs that work with excluding livestock from the forest. So the reason I was asking about the perimeter fencing, my land is not currently perimeter fenced because I could not find a fencing professional to fence out the woods because there's a huge ravine. So I could not get even the perimeter fencing done. So what we have is small paddocks. And I would like to basically fence the woods out because that would disclude the ravine and allow it to heal. It was previously logged. It's in terrible shape. All of our trees are, 6 inches in diameter or less. And, we've tried to selectively clear some of it, but again, with how steep it is, we're going to need some help.
Yes. And I would encourage you to contact your soil and water or NRCS office, and they have someone, usually their first step is to send someone out to meet with you, and then they can actually see the land and the issue at hand, and then they can work from there as far as resources.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions today? So we have one more for September, which is next Monday, same time, same place. We'll be talking about improving forest for wildlife habitat. And then I will have some new ones for October. So if there's anything in particular in October that you'd like to learn about, feel free to message those to me, and I'm always happy to add those to kind of the lunch and learn topics. But we'll probably do something on seed saving in October, and I often bring in another specialist to talk about collecting seeds. So if you want to collect native seed on your property, he usually does a great job talking about that. So that'll be in October. But if there's anything else in particular that you want to learn about, again, feel free to message me. Say happy Monday. Hopefully this hot spell will pass and it'll be fall again. All right. Thank you. Bye.